There's one phrase that quietly kills every chance of recovery after a financial hit. You've probably said it, maybe even this week. It slips from your lips when someone asks how you're doing and you say, "I'm fine." But those two words carry the weight of surrender. They freeze your momentum, silence your spirit, and tell the universe you've stopped trying. It sounds harmless, polite even. Yet in the invisible architecture of life, it's a declaration of closure, a seal over what could have been reborn. I learned this the hard way. When I lost everything, savings, direction, even a sense of worth, I repeated that phrase to myself as a kind of armor. "I'm fine." Over and over. I didn't want pity. I didn't want questions. I wanted silence. But what I didn't know was that silence has a cost when it's laced with denial. In Jewish wisdom, speech is sacred. The Hebrew language itself carries creative energy, the same energy said to have shaped the world. When God spoke, light appeared. When God named, reality obeyed. And we, created in that image, still shape our world through the vibration of our words. Every syllable is a seed, every sentence, a blueprint. So imagine what happens when your seed is, "I'm fine." You're planting resignation. You're telling life, "No need to send anything new. I'm full." I want to ask you to do something right now. Write in the comments one phrase you often say when things go wrong. Maybe it's "I'll survive," or "It could be worse." Don't overthink it, just write it. Because the moment you see your phrase written down, you'll begin to see its power, whether it builds you or breaks you. The reason this matters is simple. What we speak, we attract. You can't build a new chapter with the vocabulary of defeat. And yet, that's what so many of us do. We repeat inherited patterns, unconscious scripts that turn our pain into permanence. There's an ancient Jewish teaching that says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. It isn't metaphorical, it's mechanical. Words move energy, they direct attention, they carve neural paths in the brain and energetic roots in the soul. When I stopped saying, "I'm fine," my recovery didn't happen overnight, but it began. Subtle shifts, unexpected calls, a sense of lightness returning where heaviness had lived for months. That was when I realized something I'd never been taught. The comeback starts not in the bank account, but in the mouth. So before we go further, remember this. Every time you speak, you're programming your future. Every time you say, "I'm fine," you're telling the universe to leave you as you are. But what if your words could rebuild what was lost? What if you could plant sentences that open doors instead of closing them? Let me show you why these simple words carry such enormous power. In Hebrew, the word for word is davar, and it also means thing. That alone reveals something profound. To speak is to create. In Jewish tradition, words are not sounds. They are matter in motion. They shape reality long before action ever does. When I first heard that, I didn't quite believe it. It sounded poetic, mystical, maybe even exaggerated. But the more I studied, the more undeniable it became. The Torah begins not with work, but with speech. God didn't build the world, He spoke it into being. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Every act of creation was preceded by a sentence. In the Talmud, there's a phrase that echoes like a warning. Do not take your words lightly, for they build the world. The sages understood something our modern minds forget. That language is not decoration, it's architecture. Every thought you give voice to becomes a beam in the invisible structure of your reality. My great-grandfather used to say, "Be careful what you declare in despair, it might become your next chapter." He knew this truth through pain, not theory. He lost everything in 3 days, a small store, a home, even his savings, after months of saying, "If it all falls apart, I'll survive." The words became prophecy. When I was younger, I thought his story was just bad luck. But years later, when I repeated his pattern, I realized he wasn't unlucky. He was unconscious, and I was too. The phrases we use in crisis don't just describe our emotions, they decide our direction. In Jewish mysticism, the idea is simple but staggering. Words are seeds, and your world is your garden. Each sentence you speak falls into the soil of your mind and spirit. Some grow into blessings, others into thorns. And because the earth never refuses a seed, every word finds a way to sprout. That's why silence isn't always sacred. There's holy silence, the pause before wise speech. And there's fearful silence, which hides the truth under the mask of "I'm fine." The first opens heaven. The second locks it. When you say "I'm fine," when you whisper "it's nothing," when you shrug off your pain instead of naming it, you interrupt the creative flow. You stop the renewal before it starts. Because healing begins with naming. Prosperity begins with speaking. Now here's what almost no one realizes. There are 3 verbal traps that stop this flow. 3 common phrases that block the movement of blessing. Everyone falls into them, especially after a financial hit. Most people never escape the first one. The second, however, is the most dangerous. The first mistake is pretending everything is fine. It sounds harmless, almost noble. We're taught to stay strong, to smile through hardship, to say "I'm okay," even when we're collapsing inside. But those 2 words, "I'm fine," carry a vibration of finality. Spiritually, they tell the universe you've reached your limit. You're saying, "No need to send more. I'm done growing." It's a strange paradox. The moment you insist you're fine, you block the very help you've been praying for. Because language is not just expression, it's permission. And when you say "I'm fine," you deny the higher forces of creation permission to intervene. I remember a man named Daniel. After losing his company, he kept repeating to everyone, "I'm fine, it's just a setback." On the surface, it sounded healthy, positive even, but deep down, he wasn't fine. He was angry, ashamed, and terrified. Still, he couldn't admit it. He believed that acknowledging pain would make him weak. For months, he kept repeating those same words like a spell. "I'm fine." And just like that, life took him at his word. Nothing changed. No progress, no opportunity, no renewal. His world stood still, perfectly matching his declaration. Then one night during a long walk alone, something broke inside him. He finally whispered, "I'm not fine. I'm scared." It was small, quiet, almost accidental. But in that moment, energy shifted. His body trembled. Tears came. And the dam that held his life in stasis began to crack. Within a week, he got a call from a former partner who offered a new venture. Coincidence? Maybe. But I've seen too many of these coincidences to call them random. The moment you speak truth, you realign with flow. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. There's a teaching in Jewish thought that says, "The closed vessel receives nothing." To say "I'm fine" is to seal the vessel. To admit "I need help" is to open it. In spiritual physics, emptiness attracts fullness. The universe can only pour where there is space. So if you've been stuck repeating polite lies to yourself and others, maybe the blockage isn't in your luck. It's in your language. I learned this the hard way. After my own financial collapse, I used "I'm fine" as a shield against embarrassment. But that shield became a wall. Only when I dropped it did light begin to filter through. Here's the truth. The phrase "I'm fine" is not comfort. It's a curse disguised as calm. It ends movement before it begins. And for Daniel, for me, and for countless others, the moment that phrase died, life returned. But the danger doesn't stop there. Because even those who escape that first trap often fall into a deeper one, the one that hides behind success itself. There's a law in the Talmud that few people outside Jewish study circles ever hear. Beware of fullness, for the satisfied cannot receive. It's not about food or wealth, it's about the soul. When you declare yourself full, you stop the flow. When you say "I'm fine," you're spiritually closing the door that new blessings are knocking on. Think about it. A cup filled to the brim cannot hold fresh water. To receive, something must be poured out first. The same principle governs our spiritual and material lives. The universe isn't withholding abundance from you, it's simply waiting for space. In Hebrew mysticism, Every blessing is dynamic. It moves, breathes, circulates. It flows like current through wires of gratitude and need. When those wires are cut by pride, denial, or false satisfaction, the energy halts. You might still have what you have, but it no longer multiplies. That's why the sages taught that honest speech is not weakness. It's alignment. Saying, "I'm struggling, but I'm learning," or "I need help, but I'm open," keeps your vessel open. It creates room for grace to enter. Modern psychology actually mirrors this truth. Neuroscientists talk about cognitive closure, the brain's tendency to shut down learning once it believes it has the answer. Spiritually, "I'm fine" is cognitive closure of the soul. The mind stops exploring, and life stops expanding. When I finally understood this, I began to hear my own words differently. Every time I caught myself saying, "It's okay," or "I'll manage," I realized I was declaring stasis. I was telling creation to stand still. So I began to experiment with different words. Instead of "I'm fine," I said, "I'm growing through this." Instead of "It's okay," I said, "I'm learning something new." And slowly, my world responded. Not in grand miracles, but in subtle shifts, unexpected calls, new ideas, small signs of momentum. That's the thing about spiritual flow. It rarely arrives as thunder. It seeps in like rain through soil that's finally open. There's also a moral beauty in this practice. To admit imperfection is to honor truth. And truth in Jewish wisdom is one of the names of God, Emet. When you speak truth, even painful truth, you align with divine order. You become a participant in creation, not a spectator of it. So ask yourself now, where are you saying "I'm fine" when your soul knows you're not? In your finances, your marriage, your sense of purpose? This is not a question meant to shame you. It's meant to make room for your next blessing. Because the moment you create space, the flow begins again. But there's a second error, one even more deceptive, because it disguises itself as victory. The second mistake is believing the battle is over. It happens the moment you start to recover. When the storm passes, the bills settle, and you finally exhale. You think, "I made it." You loosen your grip, lower your guard, and start to drift. But comfort, when it comes too early, becomes the thief of destiny. There's a saying in my family: crocodile that sleeps becomes someone's handbag. It always made me laugh as a child, but later I understood its sharp truth. The world doesn't stop moving because you found calm. Energy keeps circulating. Those who stand still get left behind, not by punishment, but by the simple law of momentum. After my financial collapse, when things finally began to improve, I felt invincible. I had learned the lesson about my words. I had shifted my mindset. And so, I thought, now I'm safe. That thought, innocent as it seemed, was the beginning of another quiet fall. I started relaxing too much. I stopped tracking my spending, stopped planning my next steps. I spoke less gratitude and more assumption. I began to say, "It's all good now." That phrase, gentle, comforting, false, was another trap. Because the universe listens not only when you despair, but also when you declare completion. In Jewish wisdom, growth is eternal. The Talmud teaches that even the angels rise and fall in endless ascent. There is no final point, no plateau of perfection. Life itself is motion. So the moment you believe you've arrived, you begin to descend. Psychologically, this mirrors what neuroscientists call homeostatic complacency. When your brain registers safety, it reduces alertness. Your energy drops, your awareness fades, and opportunities slip through unnoticed. Spiritually, it's the same principle. When gratitude fades into arrogance, blessings fade too. That's why success demands more humility than failure. Because failure keeps you hungry. It keeps you praying, moving, seeking. Success whispers, "Rest." But rest is not peace when it turns into sleep. A man I once mentored named Raphael built his small business from nothing. He used affirmations, studied daily, stayed in motion. But when profit came, he started saying, "I've figured it out." Within months, things began to crumble. Not dramatically, quietly. A client left. A payment delayed. A spark went missing. It wasn't loss, it was stagnation. When we spoke, I told him, "You didn't fail, you stopped growing." He paused, nodded slowly, and said, "I thought peace meant pause." I smiled. Peace doesn't mean pause. It means movement without fear. The life of blessing rewards motion, not rest. Expansion, not preservation. The day you think the journey is over is the day the current changes direction. And yet, even this isn't the worst mistake. There's a third one, more subtle, more seductive, because it hides behind the illusion of truth itself. The third mistake is the most dangerous, because it sounds like wisdom. It's the quiet lie that says, "Everything is back to normal." Those words feel comforting. They give you a sense of stability, a return to safety after chaos. But the truth is, normal is a myth. Life never goes back, it only goes forward. To believe in normal is to cling to an illusion that never existed. When people face financial storms, they often crave the familiar. They want things to be how they were. But here's the secret hidden in Jewish mysticism. Creation is not a cycle, it's a spiral. It never repeats exactly. It evolves. So when you try to go back, you're resisting the very law that governs life itself. Change. Saying everything is back to normal is like trying to breathe yesterday's air. It gives you a momentary comfort, but it suffocates the new breath that's trying to enter. Spiritually, you're telling the universe, "Stop transforming me. I've had enough." There's a study I once read, an Israeli research project on post-crisis language patterns. It found that people who often said things like, "I just want my life back," or "everything's finally normal again," experienced slower financial and emotional recovery. Their average income growth was 12% lower than those who used forward-oriented phrases like, "I'm rebuilding," or "I'm starting fresh." It sounds small, but the shift is monumental. Because language doesn't just describe reality, it decides your relationship with it. I saw this truth reflected in my own life. After I rebuilt part of what I'd lost, I kept repeating, "Things are back to normal." For a while it felt good, familiar, safe. But slowly that phrase drained the energy from my days. I stopped imagining new goals. I settled. My heart, once burning with gratitude, became numb with routine. That's when I remembered a lesson from the Zohar, one of the deepest books of Jewish mysticism. It says, "Stagnation is the sleep of the soul." The danger isn't disaster, it's dormancy. So if you've been telling yourself that everything is back to normal, pause. Ask instead, what is being born now? Because every loss, every hit, every collapse isn't just an ending, it's a birth disguised as ruin. The universe is not trying to restore you to what you had. It's trying to raise you to what you've never known. And that's the good news. Because if words can trap us, they can also set us free. So let's change the conversation. Let's speak a new phrase. 3 simple words that open every locked door. Now, the 3 words that transform any loss into growth. They're simple, but they carry the vibration of rebirth. Thank God, I'm growing. When I first began saying this phrase, it felt strange, even forced. I had just come out of failure, and the idea of thanking God in that moment felt almost dishonest. But as I kept repeating it, something inside began to shift. My attention turned from what I had lost to what I was becoming. Gratitude replaced fear, and movement replaced paralysis. Let's break it down. Thank God. These words align you with humility. They take your focus off the illusion of control and place it back into the divine rhythm of life. Gratitude in Jewish spirituality isn't passive, it's an act of alignment. When you say thank you, you declare that what you have is enough to begin again, and that declaration attracts more. It's a statement of existence, identity, and presence. It anchors you in the now. It reminds you that you are not what happened to you. You are the consciousness experiencing it. The Hebrew name of God, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am that I am, is reflected in this same awareness. Every time you say I am, you echo creation itself. Growing. The word that completes the miracle. Growth is forward motion. It's the antidote to I'm fine, the opposite of I'm done, and the awakening from I'm back to normal. Growth means movement, expansion, divine continuation. It tells the universe, I'm ready for more. When you string them together, thank God I'm growing, you create a bridge between acceptance and ambition, peace and progress. I began to make it a ritual. Every morning, I'd wake up, touch the floor with my feet, and whisper it, thank God I'm growing. At first, it was just a sentence. But within days, it became a rhythm. My tone changed, my thoughts followed. My decisions began to reflect growth instead of fear. There's a spiritual law that says, what you repeat, you reinforce. Every repetition rewires your energy field, your brain patterns, and your sense of self. So here's what I want you to do. Set a reminder for 9 o'clock every morning. When it rings, say it out loud. Not in hope, in certainty. Say it until it becomes your second nature. You don't have to believe in miracles for this to work. You only need to speak as if they're already unfolding. Because they are. This phrase isn't magic, it's permission. Permission for life to expand again. Permission for growth to replace stagnation. And once you start saying it, you'll see what others have seen. The proof that words don't just describe your world, they rebuild it. I met a woman named Maria, who proved this truth more powerfully than any theory ever could. Maria was a seamstress from Lisbon. When her small shop closed during an economic downturn, she lost almost everything. Her savings, her employees, even her sense of worth. She told me once, it wasn't just my business that died, it was my rhythm. Every morning felt empty, every conversation heavy. When people asked how she was, she'd say the same words I once did. I'm fine. But she wasn't. Months passed, and she began watching a series of spiritual talks online about the power of language. One night she heard something that pierced through her despair. Don't say you're fine, say you're growing. Those words, she told me, felt like oxygen. The next morning, she wrote on a sticky note, thank God, I'm growing. She placed it on her mirror. At first, she whispered it without conviction, but she kept going. Twice a day, then 3 times. A week later, she added it to her prayer. Within 2 months, she started sewing again. Just small repairs for neighbors. She said the phrase every time she threaded her needle. Slowly, life began to mirror her words. Her hands, once idle, became active again. A friend recommended her to a local boutique. Orders started flowing. 6 months later, Maria reopened her shop, not as a copy of the old one, but as something new. Maria's Atelier of Renewal. She laughed when she told me that name. It came to me while I was saying it. Thank God I'm growing. I realized I wasn't rebuilding what I lost. I was becoming someone else entirely. That's how words work. They don't return us to what we were. They lift us toward who we're meant to be. I've seen this pattern again and again. People who shift from I'm fine to I'm growing begin to attract experiences that match expansion. Not instantly, not dramatically, but consistently. Growth, after all, is steady movement, not sudden miracles. And it's universal. You don't need to be Jewish to experience the law of divine speech. Energy doesn't discriminate by religion. It responds to vibration, intention, and truth. When Maria spoke words of gratitude and progress, her energy field changed. People could feel it. She began to carry light where heaviness once lived. One day, she sent me a message that I still keep saved. It said, my shop is small, but it's alive. I am small, but I'm alive. Thank God, I'm growing. Every word she spoke became a step forward. Every sentence, a seed of her new life. And if she could do that from loss to rebirth, so can you. Because growth isn't reserved for the lucky. It's promised to the willing. There's a phrase in the Torah that has echoed for thousands of years. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. It's more than a verse. It's a blueprint. Creation itself began not with hands, but with words. Jewish prosperity philosophy is built on this foundation. Speech is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Words are the tools through which the invisible becomes tangible. When you speak, you participate in the same creative process that began the universe. That's why the sages say, "As God spoke and it was, so do you speak, and it becomes." If we truly believed this, we would measure every word as if it were gold, because it is. Every "I can't" robs you of strength. Every "I'm growing" multiplies it. The Hebrew mystics called this the koch hadibur, the power of speech. It's considered one of humanity's most sacred gifts. Angels sing, animals move, but only humans speak, and therefore only humans create consciously. The more we align our words with truth, gratitude, and motion, the more divine energy flows through us. When you say, "Thank God I'm growing," you're not merely comforting yourself. You're engaging this cosmic law. You're echoing the creative vibration that formed the world. That's why it feels powerful even before results appear. It's the sound of your soul remembering how to build again. To live by this principle means to become intentional. You begin to speak less out of habit and more out of purpose. You start noticing how easily the tongue leans toward complaint, fear, or passivity. And in those moments, you have a choice: to repeat the words of old wounds or to speak the language of creation. Each morning, before speaking to anyone else, I whisper, "May my words today create light." It's a simple prayer, but it changes everything. It reminds me that my tongue holds the brush that paints my reality. Jewish wisdom doesn't promise prosperity through magic. It promises it through awareness. When you speak with gratitude, you activate receiving. When you speak with humility, you invite expansion. When you speak with movement, "I'm growing," you align with the rhythm of divine increase. So here's your invitation. Try it for 7 days. Just 7. Every morning before the noise of the world enters your mind, say the phrase aloud, "Thank God I'm growing." Write it. Whisper it. Let it live in you. Notice how your energy shifts, how your attention widens, how unexpected moments of grace begin to appear. This isn't superstition, it's participation, because words don't just describe worlds, they build them, and every sentence you speak is either architecture or erosion. But before we close, there's one more truth, a final blessing that carries the peace to sustain this growth. Don't say "I'm fine," say "Thank God I'm growing." If you remember nothing else from this journey, remember that one truth. Your words are not reflections of your life, they are instructions to it. Every time you speak, you plant a seed in the soil of the universe, and that seed will grow according to the intention behind it. From the ashes of failure to the light of renewal, the pattern never changes. Denial closes the flow. Gratitude opens it. Stagnation freezes life. Growth invites blessing. And it all begins in one place: the mouth. The Jewish sages say, life and death are in the power of the tongue. It's not a metaphor, it's a law. Just as gravity holds you to the earth, speech binds you to your path. So speak as if your future is listening, because it is. When I look back, I realize that every loss, every pause, every dark season had one hidden purpose: to teach me how to speak again, not just to others, but to myself. To move from "I'm fine" to "I'm becoming. From "I'm done" to "I'm growing. From "I'm back to normal" to "I'm becoming new." And so as we close this reflection, I want to leave you with an ancient blessing, a thread of light that has passed through centuries of mouths, carrying peace wherever it lands. May the Lord bless you and guard you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance toward you and give you peace. Those words are not just a wish, they're a map. They remind you that every blessing begins with speech, that peace is spoken before it's felt, that growth begins when gratitude finds a voice. So I ask you, as a symbolic act of giving back, to share this message with 3 people who need to hear it. Someone who's quietly fighting, someone who's rebuilding, someone who's pretending to be fine. You may be the voice that reopens their flow. And when you do, speak the words softly, but with certainty. Thank God you're growing. Because that's the truth of all creation. It's never still. It's always becoming. And so are you. Let your words become prayers. Your sentences become bridges. Your conversations become acts of creation. Speak as if heaven is listening. Because it is. And if you've come this far, know this. Your journey isn't over. The next step, the next revelation, is waiting. In our next reflection, we'll uncover the one Hebrew word that carries the vibration of abundance itself. A sound that multiplies what you already have. But until then, hold on to this truth. Growth begins with gratitude, and gratitude begins with the word.